Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a topic that's, incredibly personal for so many, but also just scientifically fascinating. We're talking about the journey of fertility after 40. We're going to push aside all the myths and the marketing promises and take a real evidence-based journey to see what the science actually tells us.
So, this is the big question, isn't it? It's the one that's filled with so much hope, maybe a little anxiety too. Is there really anything we can do to influence our reproductive health as we get older? Well, that's exactly what we're here to explore together.
To really bring this to life, let's frame this as a story. Imagine we're tagging along with a woman in her early 40s who's asking this exact question. And her guide? A brilliant, energetic scientist who's ready to take her and us on a journey through the latest research to find some real, credible answers.
Okay, so let's get started. Every journey has a beginning, and for us, that means getting a clear picture of the biological reality. Before we can even begin to talk about solutions, we have to be honest about the challenge of reproductive aging.
Now this number, it can look a little jarring at first, but it's a really important piece of the puzzle. It represents the lower end of the live birth rate per IVF cycle for women over 42 who are using their own eggs. It's a number that grounds us in reality, and honestly, it highlights exactly why this scientific journey is so incredibly important.
So what's the biology behind a number like that? Well, it all comes down to something called the ovarian reserve. Think of it as the finite pool of eggs we're all born with. As we age, not only does the number of eggs go down, but more importantly, their quality does too. This is all happening at a cellular level. The tiny powerhouses inside our eggs, they're called mitochondria, they just start to lose a bit of steam. And at the same time, the little protective caps on our DNA, called telomeres, they start getting shorter, which is a classic sign of aging.
But here's where the story gets really empowering. While we can't literally stop the clock, the research is showing us that we might be able to influence the rate at which it ticks. So our first stop on this journey is all about the most powerful, evidence-backed tools we have, our lifestyle choices.
The science really points to these four foundational pillars for creating the best possible environment for reproductive health. You can think of these as the absolute non-negotiables, the core things that support your entire system. Let's dig into each of these a little more.
So how can what you eat actually make a difference? Well, more and more research is pointing towards a Mediterranean-style diet. And why is that? It's because it's packed with antioxidants, those healthy omega-3 fats, and essential nutrients like folic acid. The whole point is that these kinds of foods help fight off inflammation and something called oxidative stress, two of the main culprits that can speed up ovarian aging. And it's not just about what you eat. Protecting your system from other kinds of stress is just as crucial. Regular, moderate exercise is fantastic for lowering that oxidative stress body-wide, and the evidence on smoking is crystal clear. It can definitely accelerate ovarian aging. Limiting alcohol is also a good idea. And even just being mindful of reducing our exposure to environmental toxins can really lighten the load on our bodies.
All right, let's move on to our next stop. So once that strong lifestyle foundation is in place, our scientific guide would point us towards some specific micronutrients. These are things that are showing real promise for providing targeted support to egg quality right at the cellular level.
This chart is a fantastic snapshot of what we're talking about. You've got coenzyme Q10, which is a real star for helping with that mitochondrial energy we mentioned earlier. Then there's NAC, which is a powerful antioxidant. And of course, methylfolate, that one is well established and so important for development. Then you get into things where the science is still kind of evolving, like DHEA, which has mixed evidence, and NAD+ precursors, which are super exciting, but still in the very early stages of research. It's a really great balanced look at where things stand right now.
Let's just zoom in on CoQ10 for a second, because this one is a big deal. Its main job is to help create energy inside our cells, and an egg cell needs a ton of energy to develop properly. This is where the idea of bioavailability comes in. It's not just about taking a supplement, it's about how much your body can actually absorb and use. As this quote shows, finding a more absorbable form can make a huge difference in getting those levels up where they need to be. Okay, so for our final stop, we're heading right to the edge of current research. Our guide is very careful here, making it clear that these are absolutely not standard treatments. This is the scientific frontier, the stuff that's being explored for the future. One of these frontier therapies is platelet-rich plasma, or PRP. Sounds really technical, right? But the idea is actually pretty straightforward. It basically involves taking a small sample of your own blood, concentrating the platelets and growth factors, the stuff that helps your body heal, and reintroducing it to the ovaries.
The theory is that this little cocktail of growth factors might help rejuvenate the local environment.
And then there's the next big idea on the horizon: stem cell interventions. The concept here is to use these amazing master cells, sometimes from a person's own bone marrow, to try and rescue ovarian function. Early data from animal studies, like in rhesus monkeys, has shown some encouraging signs, like better hormonal regulation. It's a field with just incredible potential.
But, and our scientific guide would say this is a very, very big but, we have to pull back to the present moment. This slide does a perfect job of balancing the exciting promise with the current reality. While everyone hopes these therapies could one day reverse ovarian aging, the truth is they're still highly investigational. The data is super preliminary, there's very little clinical experience, and a lot of regulatory questions. It's the definition of cutting edge, but it is not ready for prime time.
So after this incredible scientific journey, we've finally arrived at our destination. We've looked at the challenges, we've explored the foundational strategies, and we've peeked at the future. The big question now is, what does this all mean for you? What's the path forward from here?
So what are the most important things to take away from our trip today? First, just accepting that ovarian aging is a natural part of life. Second, and this is the big one, your most powerful, proven tool is focusing on your foundational health. Third, some targeted supplements might offer some extra support at the cellular level. And fourth, while those regenerative therapies are super exciting, they're still on the horizon. The real secret sauce is an integrative, evidence-based approach that combines the strategies that are right for you.
You know, this journey doesn't just end here, because the science is changing all the time. The best way to navigate what's coming next is to become your own best advocate. That means staying informed by looking at credible sources, like peer-reviewed journals and big clinical trials, not just the flashy commercial marketing that can sometimes get way ahead of the actual science.
And that brings us to our final thought to leave you with. As we look to the future, maybe the goal isn't some magic quest to turn back the clock. Maybe, just maybe, with everything we're learning, the real future of fertility is about using science to build a better, healthier, and more resilient clock right from the start. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey.